Welcome back, friends. Today I'm going to show you exactly how to get started with the index card system, the simple, old-school homemaking method that's helping me keep my home peaceful and organized. It is beginning to feel like fall around my home. They are harvesting grapes up the street here in my tiny town, so we've been hearing a lot of tractors and trucks going up and down our street. And my daughter is back to school, and we are finally settling into some good routines as we start the fall season. I know so many of you loved my first video about the Sidetracked Home Executives Index Card System to maintain your home. And I'm excited to share with you a step-by-step process to set the system up for yourself, and you can get started with it right away. Welcome back to Natasha's Healthy Living. I'm so glad you're here today. If you're new, I'm Natasha, and I'm a wife, a mother, and a homemaker. I have a couple of part-time jobs outside the home. I'm a volunteer on our local Chamber of Commerce board. And of course, I run my Jordan Essentials business out of my home. My life is full, so I needed a way to keep up with these daily tasks and chores without feeling overwhelmed and without filling up my planner with a lot of to-do lists. And that's why I'm loving the index card system, because it's done exactly that for me. I love my Jane's Agenda planner. That's what I use to run my life and my business. That's where I put a lot of to-do items on any given day or week. That's where I'm tracking my goals and just planning out my life. And it's my favorite way to be a little more mindful and slow down, take a break from the screens, and just be present and a little creative within my planner. But I was noticing that a lot of time was spent writing down the same tasks that we do in our homes, things like laundry and a little bit of cleaning and decluttering and organizing. And in the end, I wasn't doing as much of those things as I would like. So when I started using the index card system, I was pleasantly surprised with, number one, just how much it took that mental load off of my shoulders. And so I was no longer having to think of these tasks because they were all written down on cards and scheduled out within this tickler file system. And the other thing I found that I didn't realize was going to be so fun is this tangible physical thing of just getting out my cards, looking at my list of items based on what's on the cards for the day, and then moving the cards through the system, finding the new place in the divider that they would go, has been really satisfying, and it's helped me get busy just doing the tasks. I'm not having to think about them. I'm not having to write them down. And I'm being more productive and efficient with my time, which has been a wonderful, refreshing start to this fall season as we're kind of settling back into the school year. So I'm really enjoying the system because it's an easy, simple way to keep up with my home, and it's allowed me to have more time to focus on the other things in my life that are important too. And I loved hearing the comments from my last video. Quite a few people mentioned that they had used the system and loved it. There were some people that remembered a family member using it, a mom or a grandmother. And I love the old school things that worked. And something like this seems like it's just a timeless system where no matter what's going on in our digital busy life, you can go back to something simple like this where you're just moving your cards and your tasks throughout your week and getting things done and taking care of your home without too much fuss or bother, and it lets you focus on other things. So let's head up to my office. We'll take a look at the system and I'll walk you through how to set it up for yourself. I also have a free printable linked down in the description box, and it's just a couple of pages to walk you through how to set up the system for yourself. They're like a worksheet where you can kind of think through what tasks are important for you and what you want to put into the system. And I also show you how to incorporate some of the Fly Lady methods, things like your zone cleaning and how to establish that for your home. So the Fly Lady took the ideas from Pam and Peggy in the Sidetracked Home Executives and made it her own and gave her own spin to it. But I like this original system too. I kind of have made a hybrid system for myself with some of the Fly Lady concepts mixed in with the basic system that the Sidetracked sisters created at the beginning. So let's go take a look. So before we dive in and look at everything on my desk, here is the basic plan. You'll need to make a list of the chores that you want to take care of around your home. You'll need to decide the frequency for those chores. You'll have your cards and you'll write out your index cards noting the frequency for each chore. Those cards will get put into your file box with the days and the months. And each day you just pull out the cards for that day, work through them or decide to skip them, and move them to the next time they would occur in your system. That's the basic way the system works. Now let's look at it in a little more detail. Welcome to my home office. We're up here at my desk looking out on a beautiful fall day. So here are the supplies that you will need for getting started with the index card system. Of course, you'll need a pen. I like to use an erasable pen. So this is a Friction, I don't know how to say it, W-A-A-I-Y. I'm not sure. So the Friction pens, there's a whole line of pens, markers, and highlighters, and they're all erasable and they erase amazingly well, much better than the ones you remember growing up. And I like this one. This came from the Jane's Agenda Deluxe subscription box last month. I usually can get them at Target, Amazon, Jet Pens. There's a lot of places to get them. And I also like that the Friction pens have refills available. So often I'll just buy the refill ink cartridges and refill them instead of having to buy a whole new pen. So an erasable pen is great. If you don't like erasable pens or don't have them, then just your favorite pen or pencil. I use this little note card stand. You don't have to have this. I just had it on hand. It holds my stack of cards like that. So if you have something like that and want to use it, that's great, but it's not necessary. I do recommend reading the book, Sidetracked Home Executives. It's a great audiobook. I have found it on on Audible and through the library system on Hoopla. So if you don't want to pay for it, then go the library route. It's a really fun listen. The ladies that read it do a great job. If not, and you like to read, or you can't get the Audible version or the audiobook version, it's a great read anyway. So I definitely recommend going through the book. Just helps you get a bigger picture idea of how they created the system, how they initially implemented it, and what they designed it to look like. And then they also give a lot of good resources in the back. Of course, you're going to need some index cards. So what I have here is a mixture of a new set that I bought. These pastel colors are more from the new set, but I already had on hand some white ones and some of these fluorescent colored ones. I just didn't have enough, so that's why I ended up buying another set. So whatever index cards you have on hand, you could also use the larger size. These are the, what is it, like 3x5 size. So get whatever works best for you or what you have available. And some sort of a container for your cards is the last, that and the dividers. You'll have two other things that you need. So the container could be a file card box like this, an index card box. It could be a basket. It could be a zipper pouch that's big enough to hold them, especially if you want to take it on the go. Whatever you have, whatever works, whatever you prefer is fine. And then you will need some sort of dividers. This was a set I had on hand. That's why I went with it. They were blank, so they looked like this when I got them out of storage. And I used some stickers from a Happy Planner sticker set that was for memory keeping. So I had numbered stickers. I could go through and give myself one divider tab for each day in the month. So 31 tabs for the days. And then I also had the monthly stickers that I used. So I gave myself one monthly, sorry, I'm just mixing up my cards. I'm trying to keep that separate. One monthly tab for each of the 12 months. And as you're creating your divider tabs for the months, the sisters recommend having a mini calendar in your system, in the box that you keep with your cards. I didn't have something small enough that would work for that, and I kind of wanted a little bigger calendar. So this was like an inspirational card set that I had, which was a calendar for each month and then a quote at the top. I just cut the quotes off and cut them down to fit, and then I have them stuck to my tabs with some sticky tack so that next year I can replace them with the months for 2026. So you can make the calendar however you want to do it. I even noticed, and this is another kind of good resource to look, in the back of my wall calendar, there are two of these little mini calendars. So something like this could potentially work too. Like you could probably cut these out and fold it in half down the middle and have a card that would fit inside your system. You just need some way to be able to look ahead and see where to put the cards as you're distributing them through the system. So as I mentioned, this is a tickler file. And if you don't know what a tickler file is, it tickles your memory. So you'll set the system up with the 31 days, and this is kind of a good chance to look ahead. So right now we're at the end of August. And as I've been going through my cards and using the system, I'm going to go ahead. Today is the 29th. So I'm going to take my cards out for today and move. Let me move this so that I don't end up dropping it. And then I'm going to move the tab for today to the back of my numbers. And of course, if it's a month that doesn't have 31 days, that's fine. So we're going to put it back there so that every day you're rotating the numbers for the days of the month. The next one just goes to the back as you start a new day. Then you can see we're getting close to September. So when it becomes September and it's September 1st, I'm just going to take the September divider out, and I like to have it up front like this because you're going to reference that all month long as you're moving your cards, and I'll explain that more in a second. So then my August tab is just going to go back here after July, and it'll fall back in line with the rest of the months. So then you'll have your days up front, followed by your months. At the very back, I'm keeping some extra tabs because if you want to use this as also a way to keep track of reference items, you can have birthday lists, you can have gift ideas, you can have storage solution locations. So if you have 5 bins in your basement and you want a card for each bin that tells you what's inside that bin, you can do that and you have them numbered. The Sidetracked sisters, Pam and Peggy, go through a lot of different ways to use this system as your home hub. It's going to have your to-do list items, but it's also a way that you can track just things that as you're going through life, you don't want to forget. They also recommend, and I haven't started doing this, but I think it's a good idea, to use your monthly tabs as part of your tickler file system. So you could put on here birthdays if you wanted to have this as your perpetual calendar for birthdays or important events that you want to note. You could also put on here, if you have things next year or appointments that you're making next year that you want to remember, you could put that on here. You could make this a place to list seasonal or monthly chores. So if the first or like quarterly when the seasons change, if that's a trigger to do your furnace filters, then you could put things like that on there that says, okay, this is one of the months when we do that. The cards also do that, but it's a nice idea to use these divider tabs as a resource as well. I just have the calendar on them for right now. Okay, so then let's talk about how the how the cards themselves are set up. So the way that they started the system, and you can, of course, make this whole system work for yourself. So you make whatever changes you want and set up whatever system seems like it's going to work for you. But the way they initially have it set up is your yellow cards are for daily tasks, your blue cards are for weekly tasks, your white cards are for monthly tasks, and your pink cards are for personal tasks. And I added to the system and made green cards since I had them. I made my green cards for seasonal things. You don't have to do that, but if you wanted to expand, that's one idea of how I've done it. And on the cards, you're going to have a key up in the top corner. So here's a good example of one of my cards. So up here in the corner, you're going to write your note about how often the item is done. And that helps you know when to put the card back in your dividers, where to put it back in your dividers. Some other recommendations that I just haven't used on all my cards yet, but I think it's a good idea if you're new to the system and wanting to get it figured out a little bit more for yourself, is to note if something is a mini task. So a mini task would be anything that takes 10 minutes or less. Let me see if I have a card that has, okay, this is a good one here. So giving my daughter a mani-pedi, which just means like trimming her fingernails and toenails. She's 11, but if we call it mani-pedi time, then she gets excited about it and thinks it's fun. And she technically could do this herself, but I was noticing this past year, it was something I kind of needed to check in on and remind her about. And then if we do some nail polish and make it fun, then it's just fun for both of us and it's a good time together. So it's a weekly item to at least check and look and see how we're doing on her grooming habits. It's a mini task because usually I can do that in 10 minutes or less. And then the amount of time is something else that you can note up here. And typically that takes us 10 minutes. It could be something that takes 20 minutes. You wouldn't write mini on there, but you would write the time up there. And the benefit of writing the time is it's a couple of different things. Number one, if you're someone like me who likes to make things into a big project when they don't have to be, it's a good reminder for me just how quickly I can do something and it doesn't have to be a big project and I don't have to build it up in my mind and then procrastinate on it. So just like this, I still think, oh, it's a 30-minute deal, but I know I've done it with her and timed it and we got it done in 10 minutes. So it's a way for me to check myself a little bit and make sure that I'm not overthinking it or making it a bigger project than it needs to be. And the second reason why it's helpful is it's a good way to kind of put together your tasks for, let's say you have a half an hour or an hour, then you can grab several cards and add up your time and say, okay, these things should take me 25 minutes. So I'm going to work on these 5 cards and then I'll take a 5-minute break. So if you're using the Pomodoro system, it's a great way to kind of add up your tasks that fit into the Pomodoro method, which is just work for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Sometimes I use it as a way to set a timer and get myself working a little bit faster. So if I have written down that it takes me 10 minutes, like especially the fish pond, I think the fish pond probably takes me about 25 minutes, but to time myself and actually see how long it would take and then write that down would be a good exercise because again, it reminds me that I'm probably making it feel like a bigger project than it actually is, and I can get it done in whatever the time is. So going through the process of timing yourself to do the different tasks and then writing that on your card is also a really helpful part of the system and a good step to implement if you're someone who's struggling with overwhelm and feeling like there's just so much to do and you can't get it all done because it's all going to take too much time. Sometimes just going through and setting a timer and doing a few tasks and seeing exactly how long it takes you is a great way to calm the overwhelm and give yourself a reset on what you can get done in a certain amount of time. The final thing I just wanted to go over is to talk about how to add the cards back into your box. So you saw me pull out, this was my stack of cards for today. These are the tasks that I have in there to get done today. And this is a great example. So my plant in the dining room, I wasn't doing so well on keeping up with it. So I researched what it was, how often it should be watered and how much water it needed, and added that to my card system here. So I watered it today. Today is the 29th. So I have a note down here that says last done. And the Sidetrack sisters did, I think they did skipped. But for this task, it wasn't so much about am I skipping it? It was about how often do I need to do it? So I did it today on the 29th, and it has to be done every 16 days. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of math, but this is where the calendar can come in handy because it's easier for me to look ahead and count it that way. Whoops. So we're going to get out August, and I'm going to hold my finger there and do September. So there's where we are today, and I need to do 16 days. So this would be 1 week, this would be 2 weeks, so that's 14, 15, 16. So the next time I need to do this is on Sunday, the 14th of September. So then let's go ahead and put my September tab in so I don't lose it. Then I'm going to go in here to the 14th, and I file everything to the front of the divider, which is how they recommend doing it. That's how the military does it, so that should work. So I'm just going to drop that card in front of the 14th. So now I don't have to think about it again until the 14th rolls around, and that'll be my reminder to do it. We'll go through a couple of other examples. So I need to refill my hummingbird feeder because it has been a day and a half or 2 days since I've done it. So I wrote on here that this is a a daily task or every other day. Now that it's cooled off, it seems like it's okay to go every other day. So today is the 29th, so I know I need to do that. And I also need to water my outdoor plants and clean my pool filter. So I've kind of grouped all three of these together. These are basically outside tasks. And I will pick a time today when either I need a break from sitting up here at my desk or I'm already downstairs working on other things, and pull out those outside tasks that need to get done. And this is kind of showing you too, like how I go through the cards in a given day. It can seem overwhelming a little bit to see a stack of cards, but I've been finding as I do this, number one, if you think about the list that you normally make for yourself, often it's just as many items. This might be 10 items. So you can easily sit down and make a list of 10 things that need to get done around your home in a day. And when you kind of put it in perspective like that, that each card is an item to do, then it's not as overwhelming. And the other thing that I like to do is to break them up into when I'm going to do it, so that it again breaks it into batch tasks, which takes some of the overwhelm away. So this is something I normally do in the morning. It's pink because it's just a personal thing that I like to do. I haven't done it yet, so that'll need to get done. This is a monthly thing. So planning out our monthly menu still needs to get done for September. So that's why this is in here. But once that's done, since this is something that's done every month, I'll probably look ahead and put it in the last week of September. So it's not so important to me on this one what date it falls on. It's just something I'd like to do towards the end of the month. So I might start out putting it on Monday or Tuesday, because those are days when I'm either working at home or working on desk related tasks, and just pick one of those days to do it. If I don't get it done, then I'll just keep moving it to the next day until I get it done. So this is kind of a desk related task. I need to send out some cards, and that's again kind of a desk related task. So this is the zone cleaning system that I started for my zones of the home, and this ties in the Fly Lady system. So this is an example of something that I did to change the system. The sisters would say put one task per card. So this is not following their system, but I just wanted to show it as an example of a way to adapt it if you wanted to. The Fly Lady basically says in every zone of your home, and the worksheet will show you how to divide your home up into 5 zones. You're going to do at least once a month, you'll do a dust where you're really getting into the corners and getting the baseboards and the cobwebs and all that. You need to clean the glass, so that could be mirrors, it could be windows. You'll need to clean your lights and light fixtures. You need to kind of check the walls, wipe down any fingerprints. That could also be any fingerprints or dirt on your switch plates and your outlets, and look at the stuff in the room or the zone and see if you need to declutter. Do a little bit of a tidy, deep clean your floors, whether that's a vacuum where you're kind of moving the furniture and getting under things, or for me, I have a lot of hardwood, so it would be a mop. And then this zone has 2 bathrooms in it, so I just divided it up so I could remind myself to clean each of the bathrooms, like a deep clean at least once a month. I usually do a swish and swipe every week because they don't always get used, but deep clean would be, again, this dusting and mopping and whatnot. And then I like the Fly Lady's idea just to add a welcoming touch, make it look pretty and feel like you've taken care of the space. So that's an idea of a way that you can tweak the system. And what I do is just move this card throughout the week. Every day I'll try to work on something and then move it to the next day and just check off as I go. Then we have a couple of other cleaning items. So cleaning my daughter's bathroom, cleaning our spare bedroom bathroom. I need to sweep my kitchen floor, and I need to mop my kitchen floor. And these are all kind of cleaning related items. So I'm going to group those together. And at some point, I might set aside maybe 30 minutes because I have at least 2 things here that take 10 minutes. So I can probably do all 4 of those in a 30-minute period and get that taken care of. And then I have some laundry. So I do my microfiber cleaning rags about once a month. So that fell today. And then on Fridays or Saturdays, I wash the darks because that's when my husband's done working for the week and his work pants are all either jeans or darker navy pants. So that needs to get done as well. So this is my laundry setup. So you can see I have batch items that I'm working on, desk related things, outside chores, cleaning cleaning items and laundry items, and then this is my zone cleaning. So then as you set up your cards for the day, you can use your schedule to decide when you're going to do the different things and plan accordingly. So those are my cards for the day. All right, hopefully that helps you understand how to move the cards in your system. So if it's a daily thing, you would just move it to the next divider. If it's a weekly thing that always falls on a Tuesday, you'd move it to the next Tuesday. So that's why you would look at your calendar. If it's a monthly or quarterly thing, then you'd have to look ahead at the calendars. And just like that meal planning, you can pick a date to put it on to just start remembering to do that task. Things like a lot of them are things like cleaning. So, replacing your furnace filters or checking the batteries in the smoke detector or cleaning behind the stove or the refrigerator, anything like that. You decide where you want to put it and how often you want to do it. All right, then let's talk about how to decide what the tasks are going to be. So in the book, they do have a really thorough appendix with activity lists for each area of the home. And I've given you in my printable a similar chart like this that's blank. So you can just go through, if you need to print multiples, do that and decide how often you're going to do it. So let's look here in my planner and I will show you back here. Let's see. Okay. So these are my freebies that come in that printable. So this page is where you're going to make your list, and you can have a page for each room in your home and decide what's going to go on there. And if you're not sure or need some ideas, this is, again, that list of the zone cleaning tasks and the way the Fly Lady sets out the zones in your home. So that can help you work through that. And then this is an example of my weekly cleaning. So it gives you some daily chores and tasks to do. Kind of uses the Fly Lady daily focus where you pick a day for certain items. So there's a day that you're sitting at your desk and doing more of the planning. There's a day where you're running errands. There's a family fun day. There's a day to renew your spirit and rest. There's a day to take care of those anti-procrastination jobs. So those things that you've been procrastinating on, it's a day to knock those out. And there's a day to just do a quick clean of your home, kind of prepping it for a new week. So that can give you a list of items to do. And then these are some daily items. Now this is a long list and this was more specific to me. So I would sit down and come up with a basic list. It could just be 5 things that you're wanting to get done in a day. Making your bed, starting on dinner, swish and swipe a bathroom, do a load of laundry, and sweep the floor. If you wanted to say those are your 5 items that you're going to do daily, then make those cards. Or if some of those things you don't feel like you need a card to tell you to do them, that's fine. You don't have to do it. It's just a way to start establishing the system for yourself and start implementing the cards. So I would say if you've created a list of 3 to 5 things you're going to do on a daily basis, then you could also pick a couple of things that you're going to do on a weekly basis and just start there. Start by building your system in a small way first to see how it goes as you implement things. On this tracker here, I added a spot where you can put a check mark after you've made the card. So when I initially started, I did come up with some pretty long lists, but before I started making cards, I went back and looked at things to decide what do I really need the card for, or what do I want to start with cards for. And so I didn't make cards for everything on my list. So that might be a way to just get your brain thinking about what to do, but don't make it overwhelming by making so many cards that you don't want to do anything. One other tip is, I know people had asked, how do you remember to do the cards? So what if you're somebody that is kind of easily out of sight, out of mind? Well, in my planner, because I look at that often too, I just added a line on my weekly tracker to check the index cards. And that was enough to just trigger my memory and remind me to go do it. So some of my tips to get started are to keep it simple. Number 1, just remember you're learning a new system, so don't expect that this is going to be perfect out the gate the moment you start doing the system. Just give yourself some grace, give it a try, tweak it as you go along, and don't get overwhelmed or make it too complicated at first. Number two, don't overwhelm yourself by writing every single task you could ever think of that you might need to do around your home. Focus on what feels the most frustrating right now, or what you feel like would give you the biggest win in any given day or week, and start with those tasks. It could just be simple things like making your bed every day and getting dressed all the way, even if you're working at home or home with children or just home because you're retired. It could be implementing the Fly Lady's daily focus. So you might give yourself a card for each day of the week. So you have a day to do laundry, a day to do basic home cleaning, a day to do errands, etc. But I think the key is to start small and let yourself build the habit first before you expand on the system. I can tell you for myself, I started creating this system back in April. And life was pretty busy, and I had some family ups and downs. I lost my grandmother in May, and I know that there were a lot of weeks where I might have only looked at the cards 2 to 3 days out of the whole week. But what I found is the more I kept using the system, the easier it was to go in and just pull the cards and do a few for the day. There were quite a few cards that in the beginning I would just pass them along and skip them and move them to the next day. And I didn't worry about it too much because I kept in mind that the whole point is to take better care of my home and keep up a little bit more with these things. And I was doing that, even if I wasn't doing it perfectly, and I still don't do it perfectly. Just the fact that I'm making an effort and doing something makes me feel like I'm doing a better job as a homemaker and as an adult, just taking care of things around my home. So give yourself some grace and just look at it as baby steps as you build this habit, and don't expect that it's going to be perfect from the beginning. Now that I've been doing it since April, I'm finding every week gets a little easier to go in and just do the cards and get them done. And I've also built quite a few habits where I think of the item that needs to be done before I've ever looked at my cards. And I just decide to go do the thing. It's, things like checking the pool filter. I always dread that task. It's yucky and it's not fun. But I find myself more easily just saying, go do it, get it done. And then when you get into your cards, you can move that card because you've already accomplished it. So I'm finding that it's helping me build some better habits on my own, even if I'm not using the cards every single day, every single time I do a task. I've already got those habits that are starting to be built, and things just happen because I know they need to happen. And it gives me that reward of moving the card before I even get in there to look at it. My third tip is to use some kind of an analog timer, especially if you're like me and the sisters that wrote the book and you tend to be sidetracked. My favorite timers are these. You can get them on Amazon, and there's a lot of variations, but I like that they show the time ticking down. They have that loud tick. And when they go off, it's not a beeping like a digital beep. It is that kind of old school alarm sound. So maybe that's not your favorite sound and that might be triggering for you, but I like it because it feels a little bit more basic, and I don't get distracted trying to set a timer on my phone and then looking at notifications and apps, and all of a sudden 30 minutes have gone by and I've never even done the thing or set the timer on my phone. I also like it better than the digital timers that keep beeping at me, and I just don't like that sound. You do what works best for you, but I do recommend some sort of a timer because you can time yourself and see how long a task takes you. You can also use it as a motivator to get you doing the thing a little faster, to see if you can beat your time or just see how fast you can get it done. And it helps you stay focused on the item. There's something to me about that audible noise of the ticking that just sort of triggers something in my brain that I go, okay, it's time to focus and work. And I can more easily ignore distractions and just stay focused on getting those tasks accomplished. So give a timer a try. If you don't have any other version, then you can use the one on your phone, but just know yourself and know whether that becomes a distraction, and it might be worth picking up a small analog timer to avoid those distractions. My fourth tip and fourth benefit I have found from this system is it's helped me more easily habit stack. So I believe habit stacking is a concept that came from Atomic Habits, the book Atomic Habits. I could be wrong, but I think that's where it's from. And essentially, habit stacking is a way to build a habit by tying it to something you already do anyway. So a great example is brushing your teeth. If you already know you're good at brushing your teeth twice a day, then One thing you could do is say in the morning when you're brushing your teeth, the next thing you're going to do is pick out your outfit for tomorrow, so that you've built the habit of setting out your clothes for the next day, first thing in the morning when you've brushed your teeth. Or another example that I use is things related to the same part of my home. So if I say in the evening, I'm going to do dishes and make sure my sink is clear before I go to bed, a great habit that I have stacked on top of that is giving my sink a quick swish and wiping it down and kind of scrubbing it. I have that white ceramic sink, and so sometimes I do have to scrub it with my Bon Ami cleanser to get it white and clean again. And it's become something I don't even think about. I just now, as I'm cleaning the dishes out of the sink, I also clean the sink itself. So using habit stacking is a great way to kind of help the cards move you along in your habit building process. And even like you saw where I group cards together based on the types of items that they are, it's another way to habit stack. So think of that as just another building block in creating these better habits for taking care of your home. And my fifth tip is to task batch. So just like you saw, I take the cards and I divide them up into time of day when I might be doing them, and also location in my home or the type of task that it is. And it helps my brain not feel so overwhelmed by the big list or the big stack of cards, because I know and I can tell my brain, it's okay. I have these 3 things to do that I'll do when I'm at my desk in 2 hours after lunch when I want to sit down and do some quiet, restful things. That'll be my time to do those 3 tasks. And then I can say the outdoor tasks I'm going to do in the afternoon when I'm waiting for my daughter to walk home from school and I'm kind of tired and I need some fresh air and some activity. That's when I'm going to do those outside tasks. So by batching those tasks together, it can help you keep moving on, making progress without getting overwhelmed on the big list. Some of my takeaways after using this system for, I think, about 6 months now, is that it has truly helped me feel more on top of my home. Nothing is perfect. There's still dishes in my sink and there's still laundry that needs to be done. But because I have this simple system implemented, my brain knows that things will get taken care of in their time when it's the appropriate day and time and space to do them. So it's definitely given me more confidence. I feel like I have more mental space to think and work on other things. And I also feel like I have more time. I find myself getting stuff done and then thinking, well, I have some time now. What do I want to work on? And before, I always felt overwhelmed. I always felt like no matter where I looked, there were things that needed to be done, and my brain just couldn't rest and be calm. So this has been a welcome change, and I feel like going into the fall and winter season when our schedule slows down a little bit, I'm really hopeful and excited, because I think having this now implemented so well is going to make it possible for me to get into some deep cleaning and some deep decluttering and some of those bigger projects that before it just felt like I could never get to them because I couldn't even keep up with the basics. Another benefit I have found is it's helping me focus my brain on whatever task I'm doing in the moment. Instead of feeling like I was bouncing around a lot mentally, even though I was working on one thing, I was thinking about 3 other things and then seeing something that needed to be done and trying to remember that. All of those things have gone away because the system takes care of when those things will get done. And even when it comes to working on my business up here in my office, I don't sit up here also feeling like I should be downstairs doing chores. I get my chores done in the morning and then I come up here and my brain more easily shifts into work mode and I sit here focused getting work tasks done. So it's been a really welcome change. I hope that you give it a try, or if you've already used the system, I'd love to hear about how you use it, what things you've implemented, and what things you've changed and made your own. If you've never tried it, but you're curious to try it, definitely let us know that too. And it's even fun to hear your situation in life. I love that this system is so flexible. It can work for any person at any phase in life and just be adjusted to what you need. For me, homemaking is about creating a space and a home that nurtures myself and my family. So whatever your situation is, if you give this system a try, I hope that it can help you find some peace in creating a space that you love. I love that this system allows me to continue to weave together my business and personal life, still giving me time for rest and focusing on my faith and my family. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd love it if you would subscribe and Stay tuned for more cozy homemaking, faith, and wellness inspiration. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye.